Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoyed the first half of the video. This is part 2 of our IPS install. If you haven't seen the first half, I'm going to leave a little marker in one of these corners so you can see the first half. But I hope you stick around to the ending and see how nice this screen turns out. Since we're going to be using this one, that's going to fit in like that. We should put, just for giggles, let's put a little Kynar tape over that, just so it doesn't short out. Now, Kynar tape is heat proof and electrical proof and anti-static and all kind of happiness. It's just a good general all-around tape to have in the shop. There we go. Okay. So put our motherboard aside. And this is going to fit the whole way up there. So from here we can lift our little screen out and set it aside. And I know I've said it already, but be extremely careful with this one. It's very thin. You saw how I was kind of pulling on the original screen, and that one's pretty tough. This one is not. So now we've got a mask for the install. We can peel it up and we can put it in. Maybe it's easier to peel the center out first. Besides, that way we can save it. That's good mounting tape. Mounting tape's always appreciated. Okay, so we've got one side that's straight and the longer edge. So this straight edge is going to go up into this side. And up into that edge. Okay. It's quite a bit of tape at the bottom, but it's the way it is. We can take a peek at our glass and look. And yeah, that's going to be covered up, so that's not a problem. Okay. So it's going to kind of fit in like that. You can see the extra tape at the bottom. So let's just go ahead and make sure that's nice and tight. And don't forget to pull your film before we put it in. I need some heavier tweezers. There we go. Okay. And finally, we can carefully peel our face film. And you can see why it goes the whole way to one edge, because you know, our screen is flush here, and there's a bit of electronics on this side. It's actually probably the backlight. And so this is going to go the whole way up to that corner and be dropped down. This little guy is going to go right in here as a spacer. Oh, we missed our corner. But it looks like the tape has grabbed it already. So let's just carefully do that. Well, the tape's holding tight enough that we probably don't even need our spacer. Let's see. It's not perfectly square. So I'll slide it in from the bottom. There we go. Okay, that spacer's in. We're flush with the top. That's looking pretty good. Okay. We'll leave the glass screen off until last, and we can make sure everything's clean underneath. I don't know if we should bother with that or not. Let's go ahead and put it in since there's double-sided tape. There's obviously going to be room in this case. So we can just put it right up against the bottom of the screen and stick it down to our double-sided tape. And it's basically the same size as the cutout on that tape. There we go. So that, since it's on the tape, it will help hold everything into place. Okay, so back to our board. Oops. Let's make sure we're heading the right direction. Take our battery cover off. Okay, this is going to fit in this way. It's going to go down this way. Just making sure. Okay. So, like I was saying before, our left and right are going to be here. And test point 2 is going to be here. So that's going to be our brown wire. So let's go above it. And why don't we go ahead and get our microscope back down here. Where'd it go? There it is, test point 2. This one. Okay. Get our syringe back out. Just a dot of solder on the test point, or sorry, not solder, a dot of flux right there. Flux is always your friend when you're soldering. It makes everything flow real nice, and keeps everything in check. Also keeps corrosion at bay, or not corrosion, but oxidation. So we're just going to come in here and touch it like that. A ball of solder. And we'll set our soldering iron aside for a second. And come back and tin our wire. Okay. And let's see, where are we at? Oh, there you are. Not sure which way this is going to want us to point it, but let's just be safe and point it between our controls. You know what? And this is why you keep your tip tinned. Oops. Here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and put another piece of Kynar tape down. Moving those wires around could definitely lift a pad if we're not careful. There we go. Let's see what our buttons look like. There's our D-pad. There's our A and our B buttons. Don't worry about those in a minute. And our start and select buttons. Okay. Now we can roll our motherboard into position. Let's not forget to put our power indicator in. That is going to be, where's that going to be? It's going to be on this side. Like that. Okay, so let's get our motherboard screws in. You know what, those are a little bit big. Let's go with this one. That grabs it better. Okay. Okay, we got one more, but just make sure everything's, little power indicators in there. Yep, okay, go. Okay, we're good. Let's get that last one in. The screws supplied with the kit are extremely tight. So make sure you use a good screwdriver so you don't peel them up. Okay, so now we can address our wires. Let's make sure, where's our, oops, this is gonna be left. Just make sure we're not gonna get trapped or cut by our spring. Yeah, we've got plenty of room here. Okay. Matter of fact, well, we're already in that spot of the board. Okay, this one's fine. Make sure our spring goes down in the hole. Our pivot's there. And we can just bring it around like that. Okay, so, or we can leave the extra up here, which is fine too. Go ahead and strip off a spot. Just get a little bit of flux on there. It's going to go to the, essentially the left side of the switch. Okay, like that. And our right bumper, which is on the left side. This one we routed a little differently, so it's coming up closer to the switch, so there's no worry about it being grabbed. There we go. And we'll do the same for this side. Normally on a wire like this, I would just dip it in the tub of flux, but there was quite a bit sitting on that tip of that syringe, so I figured I'd just use it up. Tin the wire. To the side of the switch. That's it. Okay, turn off the soldering iron. Okay, so now have some foam under there. Our board's in. All of our buttons are happy. All I'm going to do is make sure this bail is up, which it is. We should be able to just roll this ribbon cable under like that. Keep a little pressure on it, and then push our bail down. Like that. Okay. Let's see, and we got a power switch. And go in with the U-shape up. We have a left and a right bumper, and I always get these ones backwards. The one has, you can see it here, the one has this tray, and it goes with the lanyard, so it's going to be on this side. That shell goes together like that. Now personally, I like these tri-wing screws, so I'm going to put them back in and see if they fit in this case. I don't know if they will or not. I mean, this is not just a modified case. This is a complete new shell made by an aftermarket company. No, the factory screws don't look like they're going to work. I think they're just a tad too long. I'm not going to force it, because what will wind up happening is you'll make a white mark on the other side as it pushes out. So that's okay. I'm gonna make sure our shoulder buttons are in the right spot and get the shell back on. Okay. And since we have a pivot here, let's go ahead and start with these ones. Is this big screwdriver gonna work? Okay, these are standard #1 Phillips type screws. So as long as you have a shank that's small enough to go down inside the hole without ripping up the paint, then you're good. There we go. Still feel everything's nice. Okay, we're good. And the last two. I think between the paint and that little bit of foam we put behind the LCD, there's a little bit of compression going on, but nothing that's too extreme. Oh, that's looking nice, isn't it? Okay. Since we're back here, let's go ahead and put our Retrosix. I don't know if the camera can see that. That's who makes these shells that come from Handheld Legends. And this particular one came with a battery door with the USB-C cutout, because they do sell a lithium conversion. Seems like a very nice conversion indeed, but it is rather pricey. Look at that. Well, since we have some batteries, we didn't have a. Oh wow, that looks great. All right, let's not spoil the fun. Go ahead and put our Zelda in. Put our battery cover on, and for the final bit, make sure there's no. There it is. Just make sure there's no fingerprints on that screen before we button her up. Okay. It's the first time I've seen this. They actually left a little pull tab on this one. Most of the time you have to use the edge of a razor or a hobby knife to get into it. But, like with all of them, we're going to use a hobby knife to get into it. We still have to get the backing off. And, I've said this more than once, make sure you get both pieces. Nothing's worse than having to take it apart because you left the white part on. Okay. Just line it up at the top. down a little bit. And okay, so here's my own personal 101 converted Game Boy Advance. And you can just see the difference in between. And it's actually remarkable. The screen on the new IPS is actually slightly larger than the 101 screen. The pixel resolution is higher, and the contrast is definitely improved. There's really no comparison in the two screens. This is all we had for a very long time, and it was a lot better than playing our Game Boy games, our Game Boy Advance games, you know, with a backlight or trying to sit next to the lamp. And these new kits aren't all that expensive. They're only about $50 or $52 compared to in the past. You know, we used to spend $60, $65 for the 101 screens. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was a lot of fun to film it and to do the experiment. The Retrosix case just feels amazing. And the screen is absolutely phenomenal. Thanks for making it to the end. If you were entertained or you enjoyed our video, please like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Thanks. Don't leave so soon. I forgot. The wires we soldered from our ribbon cable to our shoulder switches and to test point 2, those are for adjusting the contrast or adjusting the brightness. If you hold the select and you push one of either of the buttons, you can see it goes darker and brighter. Anyway, thanks for joining us. I hope you subscribed.